Setting boundaries is an important aspect of self-care and maintaining healthy relationships. Boundaries are the limits we set for ourselves and others, outlining what is and is not acceptable behavior. By setting clear boundaries, we communicate our needs, values, and expectations, and protect ourselves from being taken advantage of or mistreated. There are several types of boundaries that can be set, including physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual boundaries. Physical boundaries relate to our bodies and personal space, and include things like personal hygiene, touching, and sexual behavior. Emotional boundaries involve protecting our feelings and emotions, and include things like how we handle criticism, rejection, and vulnerability. Mental boundaries include our thoughts, beliefs, and opinions, and involve protecting our ability to think for ourselves and make our own decisions. Spiritual boundaries relate to our beliefs and values and include things like faith and religion. When setting boundaries, it is important to be clear and direct. Instead of making assumptions or hoping that others will understand our needs, we should clearly state what we expect and what we are willing to tolerate. For example, instead of simply feeling resentful when a friend consistently cancels plans at the last minute, it is better to have a conversation and set a boundary around the importance of respect and reliability in the friendship. It is also important to be aware of the impact our boundaries have on others. While setting boundaries is an important aspect of self-care, it is also important to consider how our actions may affect others and to be willing to compromise when necessary. For example, if a coworker frequently interrupts our work, it is important to set a boundary around the importance of focus and productivity, but also to be willing to listen when they have something important to share. It is not always easy to set boundaries, and it can be especially difficult to enforce them. People may push back or try to convince us to change our minds. It is important to remember that setting boundaries is not about being aggressive or controlling, but about being assertive and standing up for ourselves. It's also important to remember that setting boundaries is a process, and that it may take time and practice to learn how to effectively communicate and enforce our boundaries. It is also important to remember that setting boundaries is not just about protecting ourselves from others, but also about taking responsibility for our own actions. This means being honest with ourselves about our own needs and wants, and being willing to accept the consequences of our actions. This also means learning to say no when we need to, and being able to accept that others may not always agree with our boundaries. In conclusion, setting boundaries is an important aspect of self-care and maintaining healthy relationships. It involves being clear and direct about our needs, values, and expectations, being aware of the impact our boundaries have on others, and being willing to take responsibility for our own actions. It is a process that requires time and practice, but with patience and persistence, we can learn to set boundaries that work for us and help us lead happier, healthier lives. Please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe.